Now, Clemson may still be the king of the ACC, but that throne just isn't safe. Miami has reloaded with a star quarterback. Georgia Tech has a dream schedule, and Louisville and SMU both think that they can crash the playoff and the ACC title. So here's how I see it this year. It's the ACC broken into 5 tiers. So we're going to start off with tier 1, and for me, that's teams that are legit national title contenders, and that has just one team, and it's Clemson. So Cade Klubnik, he's a legit Heisman candidate. Antonio Williams, likewise, is a star wide receiver. But for me, the biggest change is that Dabo finally modernized his staff and brought in Tom Allen to run that defense. So for me, it's the most complete roster in the ACC. It's loaded up and down with NFL talent on both sides of the ball. And Clemson's not just the favorite to win the league, they're probably the only true national title contender in this entire conference. So tier 2 is where the real chase begins. These are the types of programs that could possibly have an absolute chance of winning the ACC. They could also sneak into the playoff if everything breaks right. To me, Miami is the top group in this, the top team in this group, and Carson Beck transferred in from Georgia. They've, by all accounts, got one of the best offensive lines in the country. And Mario Cristobal, he rebuilt that defense. He brought in a new coordinator, so Corey Heatherman's coming into the team. And they have the roster. The question now is just, can they be consistent? With Louisville, who's the next team on my list, Jeff Brom brought in Miller Moss from USC. He's going to run the system really well. He's got Isaac Brown and Chris Bell around him, and the offense should be able to score on anybody. It's just a matter if the defense holds up, and that could be an issue with them. But don't get me wrong, they're an absolute dangerous team. Now, SMU's next, and Kevin Jennings is back. He led them to the playoffs last year. But they lost a lot on defense, and the schedule, this time of year is really tough. Opposite of that, Georgia Tech, who's our next team, they bring Haynes King back at quarterback. Jamal Haynes is at running back, and they avoid the top teams. They don't have a Miami. They don't play SMU. They don't play FSU, but they do get Clemson at home in week 3. And if Brent Key can pull that upset, then watch out, because the Jackets are really poised to make a run from that point. So as we move into tier 3, that's kind of like the middle class of the ACC. I think there are all teams that could make some noise. They probably won't win the league, but they could pull off upsets, shake up the race, and maybe one of them surprises. I think Duke headlines this group. So Manny Diaz, he has a nasty defense there. Tulane transfer Darian Mensah gives them a really capable, if not star potential quarterback. So they're not going away anytime soon. Next, I do want to talk about NC State, and this might be a homer pick, but don't sleep on the offense. CJ Bailey's at quarterback, Justin Jolie at tight end, and their skill position groups are sneakily might be the deepest in the ACC. So if Bailey takes that next step, which I think he might, NC State could end the season with one of the best offenses in the league. Now we're going to move into talking about Pittsburgh. So Eli Holstein's back there. He's healthy at QB. Linebacker Kyle Lewis, he's one of the best defenders in the entire country. It's a classic bounce back team that might be better than what last year's record indicates. Virginia is the next on my list, and that's one that's probably going to surprise some people. They brought in a world-class transfer quarterback in Chad Morris, in my opinion. A lot of people think that Tony Elliott is coaching for his survival, but they have a soft schedule. They have a schedule that can win a lot of games. And they made enough portal upgrades that I think they have a real chance to surprise some people and end up higher in the conference standings than you probably think they're capable of. So then opposite of that, next we're going to talk about Florida State. So last year was an epic collapse, but Boston College transfer Thomas Castellanos, I think, got a raw shake when he was at Boston College. And I think he gives them new life at quarterback. So they're going to be volatile, but they're a little bit dangerous. And then the last group team that I have in this group is North Carolina. The Belichick hire, obviously the headline, but the roster has huge holes, especially on defense. And what keeps them in this tier, though, is their schedule. It's one of the easiest slates in the ACC. And I think if you combine an easy schedule with Belichick's games management, the Tar Heels are really capable of stealing wins and ending the season with more than you think that they're capable of. So all in all, do I think that they're talent-wise with some of these other teams? No, but I do think they could surprise given the easy slate and the chances they're going to have at wins. So we move into our next tier, and that's tier 4, and I just consider this a low ceiling group. It's the type of teams that could scrape out a bowl bid, but they don't have a ton of firepower to really do much more than that. And I'm going to start off with Syracuse, and I'm going to have a caveat to this one because Fran Brown, he has the right mentality up in Syracuse. But this schedule this year, I don't know who in the ACC was responsible for putting this together, but Syracuse should file a grievance. So the Orange, they open with Tennessee, and then in the league they have to travel to Clemson, SMU, and Miami for away games. They also go to Notre Dame out of conference, and then they host Georgia Tech, Duke, and North Carolina. So those are all projected top half of the teams in the league. So, I mean, like, look, at the end of the day, Syracuse is going to have 8 games where they're likely going to be underdogs. And you combine that with what they lost in Kyle McCord and LaQuint Allen, and I just don't see them repeating the type of success that they had last year. So then we move into Virginia Tech, and Brent Pry's seat is definitely heating up there. So they have a quarterback battle between Kyron Drones and Pop Watson. Regardless of what direction they choose there, this roster doesn't look ready to climb anywhere past the middle of the pack. So while a bowl game is possible, I think their ceiling feels kind of capped. And then I think the last team in this group is Boston College, and Bill O'Brien's built some toughness, and that was evident in year one. But they lost a lot of pieces, and they lost some offensive identity. Grayson James and Lewis Bond both returned, but again, just for me, the ceiling here, 6 to 7 wins maximum. And that brings us to tier 5, which is really just the bottom of the barrel in the league. I think all these teams are unlikely to be competitive just on a week-to-week basis. We'll start with Cal. The Golden Bears are rebuilding. They lost Fernando Mendoza and the biggest star, Jaden Ott, in the portal. And on top of that, the everyday travel of being in California and playing the ACC just makes me think they're not going to be very good and won't handle that very well. Next, we'll talk Wake Forest, who falls in this group. Jake Dickert's taking over. Deeks are in full rebuild mode. Robbie Ashford transferred in from South Carolina, but I just can't see it. After 2 straight 4-8 seasons with a stable coach and you had heavy roster turnover, I just don't see how you turn it around quick. So next we move on to Stanford, and Frank Reich, he's back in college football. He has Andrew Luck as his GM. But that's a long-term project. I don't think anyone expects that to turn around fast. They lost in week 0, to Hawaii. So between the roster issues and that cross-country travel I mentioned, it's going to be another tough year on the farm for them. So that's how I see the ACC in 2025. I broke it into 5 tiers, and just to recap it, Clemson stands alone as the only true national contender there. I think Miami, Louisville, SMU, and Georgia Tech are capable of ascending. Like, they can get to that top level, but they're not there yet. And then you've got just a middle class of teams that can shake things up. And there's another group of teams that are just fighting for survival and trying to stay afloat. But that's my read. I want to know, what do you think? What do I rank too high? Who do I disrespect? Drop your comments and takes down below. I'll respond. Let's get the debate going. Looking forward to a great week of college football this upcoming weekend. I hope everyone has carved out enough time to enjoy the games. I'll see you on the next one.